Hello everyone, today I'm going to tell you a bit more about Anne Frank. And I'm not going to take you to the building right behind me, to the Anne Frank house, a very well-known place here in Amsterdam. But I'm going to take you to the neighborhood where she grew up and where she had a very nice youth as well. But obviously we have to start over here, and we have a very nice background music from the carillon of the Western Church. Let's see if we can see it. There it is. Beautiful music. And actually the Western Church was very important as well, because that was her connection to the outside world. She could hear the church bells ring, and as soon as they would ring 6 o'clock, she knew that the employees would go home and she could start to move again in the Anne Frank house. But this may be a bit confusing, because what's the Anne Frank house? What's the neighborhood where she grew up? Well, if we talk about the Anne Frank house, we talk about the place where she was hiding for 2 years with her whole family, and in total there were with 8 people hiding away there. During the 2 years that the people were hiding out in the, well, so-called Anne Frank house, the company was still in operation, and that's the reason why they were so happy if the church bells will ring 6 o'clock, because they would know that the employees were going home and they could finally start to sneeze again, for example, flush the toilet, because you can imagine in such an old building, the wooden floors would make noise. If they would flush the toilet, that would really make a lot of noise, and the employees could hear it. And obviously some of the employees knew about the fact that they were hiding out there. They were the so-called helpers who were bringing food, for example, and also school books to the family. But yeah, obviously not everyone knew it, so they had to be very quiet during daytime. The newer building next to it, this one, that's the so-called Anne Frank Museum. And that was founded with the money from the movie Schindler's List. You might have heard about it. But enough about this place. I'm going to take you to the Rivierenbuurt, the place where she grew up. Well, I'm on my way to Merwede Square, the place where Anne grew up. I'm passing by this place, and this place is probably one of the last places that Anne has been. As they were brought to this place before they were brought to Central Station to pick the train to the camps. This was just kind of a collecting place in a former police station. Well, and this place has such a bad memory. This place isn't in use as a police station anymore these days, but it houses apartments, shops, restaurants, and just behind there is a square with terraces. And about the end of the whole story, we actually don't know. We don't know where they were betrayed, found by coincidence, but we do know that they were brought to camps, and that Anne and the family, except from Otto, her dad, died in those camps. This was the area where Anne grew up. She was living on the right hand side at Merwedeplein, and she called it Mary, and she really loved this place. And basically nothing has changed, although when they came to live here in the 30s it was a brand new place. So you can imagine the trees weren't as big, but they were definitely impressed by the skyscraper here on the background. It was the first one in the Netherlands. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. This area in Amsterdam South was created for the workers of the Jordan district. The Jordan district was full with very bad houses, and it was just a very dirty area. So they created a new area, a new neighborhood. But actually, when this neighborhood was finished, the apartments here were way too expensive for those workers. And what happened as well, by the same time, in the beginning of the 30s, a lot of Jewish people fled from Germany, Nazi Germany, to the Netherlands to be safe again. And around here you would find a lot of apartments available. And a lot of Jewish people came to live here. Actually in a very nice neighborhood. Wide streets, big apartments for those times. Right here, sorry for the noise. It's never really quiet in Amsterdam, right? Even if I would definitely call this a quiet area. Right here, number 37. Where is my finger? 37, and then the second floor, so right here. That was where Otto Frank found an apartment. He was coming at first just to make sure that he would find an apartment for the family, and as soon as he had an apartment, the family was coming over. Also, grandma was living for quite a period of time here in Amsterdam with the family Frank. In front of the house where Anne has lived from her 5th to her 13th, you'll find these 4 stones. They are called stolpersteinen, or said in English, stumbling stones. You find them a lot, about 75,000 in Europe and over 600 here in Amsterdam. But you can imagine these are some very important stones for us. And the idea behind stumbling stones is that it's a little monument for one single person. Each stone marks one person, and it's not a big monument, but once in a while you stumble over and you think about the person. The 4 here, they are here for the family Frank, and actually each stone tells the same. For example, here lived Anne Frank, born in 1929, went to the hiding place on the 6th of July 1942, got arrested on the 4th of August 1944, and deported from Westerbork, Auschwitz, killed March 1945 in Bergen-Belsen. And the man Gunther Demnig, German man, always uses the word killed, because he said you didn't die just of a disease, you were killed by Nazi Germany, and or by the Nazis. And there's one special stone, that's this one, and that's the stone of Otto Frank, and it ends up with survived. As I told you before, he was the only one out of the 8 people that were hiding out in het achterhuis, in the back house, who survived. But he got this stone to bring the family back together again. And just around the corner of the house where she grew up, we will find a bookshop. And I would say it's, the bookshop, the famous bookshop where the diary of Anne was bought, the very famous white and red diary. And she got it for her birthday. And I think everyone knows where I'm talking about. The diary nowadays can be found in the Anne Frank house. The bookshop nowadays is owned by Sir Yimmink. And Sir Yimmink is always working very hard on keeping the memory on Anne alive. He was also the one that took care that the little sculpture of Anne on Merwede Square was placed there. And he's always willing to tell you everything he knows about the family Frank. Very friendly man. Definitely worth a visit, this bookshop. Just on walking distance from where the family Frank was living, we find the school of Margot, just behind me, still in use as a school. And yeah, the girls were very different from each other. Margot was very serious, could study for hours, and she could get along very well with her mom and could get very well along with her dad instead. And yeah, was more the one that was jumping around, so to say, and being very, very playful. So she was going to the 6th Montessori school, nowadays known as the Anne Frank School. I'm going to take you right there. This restaurant was called Oasis or Oasis, and for a long time, even though the owners changed and different restaurants got in, they kept the original name on the gable. And the reason for that was that Anne used to come here very often. It was just a stroll away of the place where her friend used to live. And after playing ping pong with the girls, they came here to buy themselves an ice cream. And they said about it, well, it wasn't very often that we had to pay for the ice cream, because most of the times we could find an admirer here who would buy us the ice creams. Well, the question is, was it really an admirer or just imagination of a 12-13-year-old girl? Just behind me you find the former 6th Montessori school, but nowadays known as the Anne Frank Montessori School. But we have to know that she wasn't the only kid going to school here, as by the time that Anne had to leave school here because she had to go to a special Jewish school, as all the Jewish kids had to, 158 Jewish kids had to leave the school as well and go to special Jewish schools. Yeah, she was very sad about it because she really liked to go to school here. And I have been so lucky to be in this school twice. And well, if you're in this school, it feels like, yeah, like you want to go back to primary school again. It's such a nice place, such a nice spot. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm too old to go back to school again. The colored tiles that you see on the gable are a fragment from her diary. And if you walk into the school on the right hand side, you find a photo of Anne, and you see also all the names of the kids that had to leave the school here. And the kids are very much aware of the fact that Anne went to school here. When I was here during a walking tour, one of the kids came to me like, "Oh, do you know who went to school here?" I said, "Yeah, we definitely know. That's the reason why we're here and why I'm here to show these people this place. Oh, please come inside, and I will show you the class where she was sitting in." So he was literally inviting us in the school where Anne was going to school, as he was so proud. And the ground level is still in original state, so it still looks exactly the same like in the time that Anne was going to school here. We're back at the place where we started here in the neighborhood, back at the sculpture of Anne. To me, this is really a beautiful sculpture. She's looking back to the place where she used to live, and we really see a young girl that doesn't know what's happening, what's going to happen. She's wearing a lot of layers of clothes, although it's July. She has 2 big school bags with her, because this sculpture marks the moment that she's going to the hiding place. And back in those days, at that moment, Jewish people weren't allowed anymore to ride their bikes, or to take a tram, so she had to walk all the way to the hiding place, and that was quite far. I would say if I would walk it today, it would take me more than an hour. Anne was walking to the hiding place in the early morning, and Margot already left the evening before. And the reason that Margot left before was that she got a letter to go to a working camp. And that was the moment that Otto said, "Well, girls, I have been preparing a hiding place at the office, and this is the moment to go there. There's no time to lose." So yeah, Margot went there right away, and went there the day after with the rest of the family. The hiding place wasn't totally ready because they expected to go 10 days after, but there was no time to lose and they had to go directly. Well, I showed you some things that I would love to show you while walking here. Obviously, there's so much more to show you, to tell you. But to do that, I would love to invite you to come over to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, and make a walking tour here with me. Thank you for watching this vlog about Anne Frank. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a bit more about Anne. Now I'm going to sit down here on the terrace in the sun and enjoy a little drink. And that's what I normally do as well after this tour. Sit down in one of the pubs or one of the terraces in the neighborhood here, have a drink together and have chat a bit more about Anne and show you some nice old pictures of her. Again, I hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.